Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cozy English. I hope you're all having a wonderful week. Today, I want to talk about something we all face every single day: choices. From the moment we wake up, we're making decisions: what to wear, what to have for breakfast, which route to take to work. It seems like having more options is always a good thing, right? More freedom, more control, more chances to find the perfect thing. But what if I told you that sometimes having more choices can actually make us less happy and more stressed? This fascinating idea is known as the paradox of choice. Let's start with a simple, everyday example. Imagine you want to buy some jam at the supermarket. You walk down the aisle and see a small shelf with 3 flavors: strawberry, raspberry, and apricot. It's a pretty easy decision. You pick your favorite, maybe raspberry, and you move on. You're happy with your choice. Now picture a different scenario. You go to a specialty food store and the jam section is huge. There are dozens and dozens of options. Strawberry with champagne, wild blueberry from Maine, organic fig and honey, spicy mango chutney. The list goes on and on. At first, it might feel exciting. Wow, look at all these possibilities. But then you start to feel a little overwhelmed. Which one is the absolute best? What if you pick one and another one would have been tastier? You might spend 10 minutes just reading labels, comparing prices, and trying to make the perfect choice. By the time you finally pick one, you might feel a little bit of regret, wondering if you made the right call. This is the paradox of choice in action. The abundance of options, which was supposed to make you feel empowered, has instead created anxiety and doubt. This phenomenon was famously studied by psychologists Sheena Iyengar and Mark Lepper. In their classic experiment, they set up a tasting booth for jam in a gourmet market. On one day, they offered 24 different kinds of jam for customers to try. On another day, they offered only 6. What they found was really interesting. The large display with 24 jams attracted more people to stop and look. However, when it came to actually buying the jam, people who saw the smaller display of 6 jams were 10 times more likely to make a purchase than those who saw the larger display. The people faced with 24 options were so overwhelmed that most of them ended up walking away without buying anything at all. This experiment clearly showed that while we might be attracted to a large number of choices, it can paralyze us and make it harder to decide. So why does this happen? Why does our brain get so overwhelmed by too many options? There are a few key psychological reasons. The first one is something called analysis paralysis. When we have too many choices, our brain goes into overdrive trying to analyze every single one. We weigh the pros and cons of each option, trying to gather all the information possible to make the best decision. This mental effort is exhausting. Instead of feeling liberated by the choices, we feel burdened by the task of evaluating them all. It's like trying to solve a really complex math problem when all you wanted was a simple answer. Another big factor is the fear of regret. When you only have a few options, it's easier to feel confident in your decision. But when there are 50 options, the chances that you pick the absolute best one are much lower. This leads to a nagging feeling that you might have missed out on something better. This is often called fear of missing out, or FOMO. You choose a vacation destination, but then you keep thinking about all the other beautiful places you could have gone. You buy a new phone, but you worry that another model released next week will be better. This constant what-if thinking can diminish the satisfaction we get from the choice we actually made. The joy of our decision is overshadowed by the ghosts of all of the decisions we didn't make. Furthermore, having more choices increases our expectations. If there are only 2 restaurants in a small town, you'll be pretty happy if you have a decent meal at one of them. But if you're in a big city with thousands of restaurants, your expectations for a perfect dining experience are much higher. You've spent time researching, reading reviews, and choosing one place out of hundreds. If the meal is just good and not amazing, it can feel like a disappointment. The sheer number of alternatives makes us believe that a perfect option exists, and we feel like it's our responsibility to find it. This pressure can turn a simple decision into a stressful task, and it sets us up for disappointment. This doesn't just apply to buying jam or choosing a restaurant. The paradox of choice affects major life decisions too. Think about choosing a career path today compared to a few generations ago. In the past, career options were often more limited. perhaps by family tradition or geography. Today, we're told we can be anything we want to be. While this is an inspiring message, it can also be incredibly daunting for a young person. The pressure to find the perfect career that is fulfilling, financially stable, and prestigious can lead to years of anxiety and indecision. Similarly, in the world of online dating, the seemingly endless supply of potential partners on dating apps can make it difficult to commit to one person. There's always the thought that someone better might just be a swipe away. This can lead to a cycle of temporary relationships and a constant feeling of dissatisfaction. So, if more choice isn't always better, what can we do about it? How can we navigate this world of endless options without getting overwhelmed? The good news is, there are strategies we can use to simplify our lives and make decisions more happily. The first step is to learn to be a satisficer instead of a maximizer. A maximizer is someone who needs to find the absolute best option. They will research endlessly to make sure they haven't missed anything. A satisficer, on the other hand, is someone who has a set of criteria and is happy to choose the first option that meets those criteria. They're looking for good enough, not the absolute best. For example, when buying a new laptop, a maximizer would read every review for every model. A satisficer would decide they need a laptop with a certain battery life and screen size, and buy the first one they find that fits their needs and budget. Studies show that satisficers are generally happier and more optimistic than maximizers. Embracing a good enough mindset can save you a lot of time and mental energy. Another helpful strategy is to limit your options artificially. If you're looking for a new movie to watch on a streaming service, don't scroll through the entire library of thousands of films. Instead, give yourself a rule. For example, you could decide to only look at the top 10 this week list, or only consider movies from a specific director you like. By creating your own constraints, you turn an overwhelming choice into a manageable one. You can apply this to many areas of your life. When shopping for clothes, decide ahead of time that you're only looking for a blue sweater. When choosing a restaurant, limit your search to a specific neighborhood or cuisine. It's also important to practice gratitude for the choices you do make. Once you've made a decision, try to focus on the positive aspects of it. Instead of worrying about the options you didn't choose, appreciate the one you did. If you bought that raspberry jam, enjoy how delicious it is on your toast. Don't spend your time wondering if the fig and honey jam would have been better. Remind yourself that there is no perfect choice. Life is full of trade-offs, and that's okay. Making a decision and moving on allows you to spend your energy enjoying your life, rather than endlessly analyzing it. Finally, remember that some decisions are reversible. We often put so much pressure on ourselves because we feel like every choice is permanent. But many aren't. If you buy a shirt and you don't like it, you can usually return it. If you try a new hobby and it's not for you, you can stop and try something else. Understanding that not all decisions are final can take a lot of the pressure off. Give yourself permission to make a choice, see how it goes, and adjust if necessary. The paradox of choice is a modern challenge, born from a world of abundance. While it's wonderful to have freedom and opportunity, it's also crucial to learn how to manage them. By understanding why too many options can be overwhelming and by adopting strategies like being a satisficer, setting limits, and practicing gratitude, we can find a better balance. We can learn to appreciate the freedom of choice without becoming paralyzed by it. The goal isn't to have fewer choices, but to develop a healthier relationship with the choices we have. It's about finding the sweet spot where we have enough options to feel empowered, but not so many that we feel overwhelmed. It's about making choices that lead to satisfaction, not regret. Thank you so much for joining me today for this chat. I hope it's giving you something interesting to think about the next time you reface with a wall of jam jars. What are your experiences with the paradox of choice? Let me know in the comments below. I love reading your thoughts. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.